must be the other. Right, Kurt and I met on the call.
And Commissioner Jordan is zooming in.
Oh, I
He'll be on
didn't,
Zoom,
that's
yeah.
what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're ready to go. So welcome everyone to our February 6, 2023 Board of County Commissioner meeting. Our strategic planning meeting. We will be, let the record reflect that we have 4 of our commissioners here in person and Commissioner Jordan is zooming in, so thank you very much. We are doing Spokane International Airport appointment interviews this morning, and so we are starting off with Mr. Clyde Hossey. Clyde, welcome.
Welcome, thank you again.
This morning.
I almost got caught in a long line out there at the entrance with the jurors. I mean, I was there for a long time, so busy place.
It is a busy place. So what we're doing is we have 5 questions that we're asking, and we're asking everyone the same questions. And so I'd like to just give you a few minutes though to just, talk about yourself and explain why you're here today.
Thank you, and again, I appreciate it, and I'm speaking to some of the people who know me and some of us that don't know me, but bottom line, I've lived in Spokane all my life. I've raised my family here and have been in business and have been heavily involved in the community over the many, many years. And someone would say, well, why are you that? And I said, it's because I do care about it. And I think that's one of the things I've become a little bit passionate about. Everything that I have been involved with in the community and as well as involved in the community services in regards to planning commission or this particular board, I would be committed. And I'll just cut right through the chase. I've been married for 57 and a half years and I lost my wife just recently. And so my whole life has been flipped up after 58 years of knowing her since I was in the 2nd grade. We all move on, but this gave me more of an opportunity to stay focused and believe in it with my family, my kids, and my faith, my family, and my kids are really all about it. And so I say that with respect. I feel I can bring forth information and stability that is a very important part for someone who has lived in the Spokane area. And I really appreciated the questions from all of you, and I saw where everybody was coming from. Stability and knowledge and background and diversification is so important on every single board. And with that being said, do you want me to go into the first question? Or are you going to do the first? Or?
No, we'll go
Oh,
ahead.
you handle it.
We'll
Okay,
each
that's
ask the questions.
anyway. I'm committed. I've been involved. I'm here, and I'm doing fine. How's that for? I just want to answer any questions, and so anyway, that was where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. French.
Well, and for the record, Clyde and I have known each other before hair started graying, probably over 40 years now.
That is correct.
Yeah, and stuff. And Clyde has worked on projects that I've done. So Spokane International Airport works in concert with the CEO to provide excellence in air travel and customer service and to serve as a catalyst for economic development for the region. It is important each board member provides a unique skill set perspective to enhance the board's effort supporting SIA and the region. What specific experience, skills, and values do you bring to this board, and how do you anticipate utilizing them to serve SIA and the region?
Thank you. Excellent question.
Thank you.
It's so interesting that sometimes on some of the commissions that I've been involved, personalities get involved, and I've always been a great one to deal with the issues. I have had the pleasure of serving with Commissioner Kearns, French, and Cooney for the past 5-6 years as a planning commissioner on that board, and I have had many occasions to have an opinion. And I really believe that anytime that you involve yourself in the community, especially on a board like this, the airport board, you need some personalities to be put into it because that's your thought of thinking. But when it comes down to the vote, you need to work as a board, as a unified board. The past years that I've been involved, and I'll go into a few details as we move along here, but you need to work as a board at Unified and be under the guidelines of your CEO and or administrator, whatever it is at that particular committee that you're on. And then they, again, will report to you because you are elected by the people. It's not us, it's you that are elected by the people. We need to know where you're coming from. We need to participate in the direction that you see the growth of Spokane happening. Some of the pleasures that I have enjoyed, I was really excited to hear a word that came up that a lot of people don't even know what it means. Freeholder board. I served on the freeholder board. I was voted in by the people in my district back in the mid-90s?
Mid-90s, yeah.
93, 5, I mean, whoever it's going to be. We studied it. We built a whole idea of, and it studied every department of the Spokane County and identified what their functions were. And under the freeholder process, you have to identify, can you improve on it? If you do not reach out and try to make changes, it becomes stale. I am a believer, I may be old, but I love change because we get into a rut and it's not good. The freeholder process allowed us to take a look at government back then and identify it. And we studied it for over 20 months, 24 months.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lost track of the time.
Yeah.
But at that particular point, it went to vote and it was voted down by a small fraction, which is the people in the valley. And they formulated from that the city of the Spokane Valley, another layer of government that I would call another layer of government. Now, at that particular point, I don't know if we have 13 or 14 different layers of government within the county, but it makes no difference. But we wanted to unify government and function as a large business. So I do understand studying and evaluating and understanding how you get there and working with a committee. I really enjoyed the freeholder process, and today, we are here because of that freeholder. It allowed us to have representation by representation through the process of commissioners. We now have 5. That is what we had talked about, was to have better representation. This is a big business, folks. It's just not the airport, it's the community that I'm really willing to participate in, and they all have to function together as a unity or know what each other is doing. It's no different driving down the freeway and some are going that way and some are coming this way, but we all know where we're kind of going because we're focused on it, and we need to do that with government. Sorry, I get very passionate about the freeholder process because I think it was a great study that I had. When I got done with that, I was also involved at the Washington State registration appointed by the Governor Gregoire. I was appointed to the Board of Registration for architects, landscape architects and engineers. I traveled back and forth for the next 3 years and did that. During that particular time, when I was in the freeholder process also, I was one of my sub-boards I was on was the waste to energy plant, solid waste. I mean, come on, this is not a pretty site. It's not a pretty subject, but it does work. And again, because of the airport and its location, we needed to understand what was going to happen if Bechtel came in there and did what they did. And what would we do with all the, everybody said, well, it just burns up. You forgot one thing. What do we do with the waste? I mean, I can go into detail because we studied that. I studied the aquifer. I understand where our water's coming from. We understand where we're moving along. And at that particular point, that was so gratifying when we finished the freeholder process, and that was appointed by the commissioners at that time, and I'm losing count of who they were, and it doesn't make any difference.
Going back ways.
It was a while ago.
Quite a good.
Anyway, the bottom line, then I was asked to take a look at, because of the knowledge I had of government, to take a look at the Planning Commission. And working with John Peterson at that particular time, he was a young whippersnapper. And I began to do that and worked on that for some time. And then all at once we had an item that came up in front of us. It's called Growth Management Act. I will say now, and at the time I thought it was great. During the process, wow. Someone said, is it a healthy process? It's a great education. I avoided the answer in it, didn't I? It's a great education because you begin to understand. I also believe that representation within the people who participate in the community on boards like this is so important to know where we've been, where we're coming to, and where we're going to be going. Planning ahead for the future. I can recall looking at the airport out there, and they reported to us and said, okay, here's where we see ourselves happening out there. And it was functioning at that time extremely well, and is today. And we need to work together, and I can bring to the board is planning. I can bring to the board ideas. If you're interested, I do private enterprise of sharing and working with people. And one of my people that I work with, it's Clyde Hawsey, a dream builder. Now, you know what that means? That means that I'm not stale. I have ideas to share with you and dreams that you have for the county and how you see the county happening. And through that process of the board that we understood for growth management, we're getting ourselves prepared for another big gigantic step in the next couple of years. And we need to have a board knowing where you are going to be taking the community of Spokane and the region and how it's all going to happen. Participation of people like myself who are committed. I mentioned to you that someone asked me, he said, well, Clyde, it's February, why aren't you in the desert? For 28 years, I've traveled to the desert. My home is vacant down there, and I am willing to, I need to take a break from that particular point and stay focused here in Spokane. Why? The ice is a little bit thicker here with my grieving. Down there, I have to open up new areas. So me traveling, I've done Europe, I've done many things like that. I'm looking forward to going to the Holy Land in November for 10 days. But my point is that I am a very focused individual, as you are. And that's why we're here today. I don't want to waste all my time.
Okay, yeah, we'll start with the
Anyway,
next question.
Am I answering some of your stuff?
Oh, yeah.
I am commitment to where you want to be taking. And I have understanding that I want to bring to the board in sharing. Why do we have all the open lands around the airport at the time? At the time, we didn't have Amazon. Why do you think we had light industrial? So we can change zonings. I mean, this is how you build for the future and see the future. And sometimes, you know what it is? It's a flip of a coin because you don't have an answer. And I don't always have the answers, but I'm willing to listen. So, sorry, I get passionate about it.
That's great.
Well, what do you believe are the duties of the airport board? And then you were talking about, ideas and change. How do those duties correlate to the changes you'd like to see occur at the Spokane International Airport?
I've answered part of those questions when I was talking about the first part, and I don't mean to repeat myself, but I do believe in a dialogue. And I'm going to go back to, why was I married for 58 years? It was not by luck. It's because I had communications going on at all times. You have to have a dialogue within the leadership of the airport as well as with the commissions, as we have 5 commissions now, and understand where their direction they'd like to see the airport move forward. But working with the CEO, changes, I believe in open dialogue, transparency is a big item in my life. And I've proven it time and time again. Transparency is a big item. I have worked enough with the Planning Commission recently. Again, we share with ideas with the planning director. We don't always agree. I'll be honest with you. We have some great conversations, as I assume you do have behind doors. That's what you call opinions. And opinions are good because I don't always have the right answer. I believe in good dialogues, and I've proven that after the last 5-6 years that I've worked on the Planning Commission. I've yet to have someone said, gee, Clyde, you're not doing a very good job. Dialogue is the most important thing.
Okay. Clyde, my question, kind of a two-parter. The first one I know you've touched on already, but why do you want to be on the airport board? And the second part is, what do you see as the airport board's largest area of opportunity and growth?
Number one, Do you want me to expand on the first part of it? I mean,
It's up to you.
okay. The greatest opportunities in front of us at the airport board, in my opinion, is to show how the unity that we participate working with community members and community and working as a commission to listen. What is happening? I again will have to tell you, when we looked at growth management and we were laying it out, I didn't realize Amazonia was even a word. But guess what we have today? Because we have planned ahead to say, what if it is not going to be farming as our main industry? And the airport does attract a lot of high tech. And because of some of the zoning practices that we have led forth with, that's why we have such a great, successful board and a successful community. I have heard no one complain, well, we can't grow because the airport's not growing. We all need to move together on the same, remember, I-90 has 2 lanes. We can all move together at the same time. And I believe in that. The opportunities, in front of us that we have here in Spokane, especially on the airport, I don't have all the answers. I'm willing to listen. Remember, I told you I'm learning. What I'm going to bring to the board is somebody who's been through the front lines a couple times. I'm going to bring together something that just doesn't do with words. I'm just not going to give you words. I'm going to give you actions. In my old age, I find that I have experienced enough. Why do you think my grandkids come to me and ask me, hey, Papa, what do you think about this? I've experienced some of this stuff. I can bring forth to you that experience, and I'm willing to share with you. I'm willing to share with the board members. Tell me your experiences. I'm willing to go out there and spend the time, because I am retired. And even right now, I don't have much I can study on the planning commission because we don't exist. But I'm willing to commit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I deviated.
Soon to be.
We know, Clyde.
Am I amongst friends? I'm sorry. Al knows me well enough. I really believe what I can carry into any people that or any committee is stability, and I love to ask questions because I don't have all the answers. Al and I have shared many a times, and we've shared before in developing. And I'm willing to tell Al, hey, Al, I don't understand that one. Or have you thought of this? That's what we have. My wife said, we didn't talk about that, did we? Yes, dear. We need to be talking more and more all the time. I don't know if that helps with.
That's good.
Commissioner Kern. Sorry.
I've got the next question. So what do you believe the role of a Spokane International Airport board member is? And how does that correlate to your thoughts on optimal relationships between board members and the administration and staff and the organization?
Well, Commissioner Cooney, I've answered a lot of that
You have.
beforehand, and I don't want to take somebody behind me their time, and because I'm getting close, I assume.
We have till 9:30.
Okay. I really believe that what I'm going to bring forth to the board, hopefully being on the board, is that I just don't run off at the mouth and just think of, I do my research. I do my homework. Homework and understanding is so important. Every so often, do I put my foot in my mouth? Yeah, but guess what? I also raise my hand and say, that was me. Because I'm not perfect. I want to bring unity, and I will not create division. I want to bring education to the experiences of what has taken place around the airport, which we did here 2-3 months ago about the airspace, and we incorporated more land to come into it, and it's going to be, why? But because this is a development of Spokane, and we have open areas out there in that area, and we need to look at it importantly, because after we do it, 20 years later, we can't change it. When it's done, it's done. So you make the best judgment call at the moment when you're voting to identify where do we go from here? I don't want to be rehearsing some of those things back over again, I'm saving time. Did I have?
That's good. So Commissioner Jordan has the last question.
Hello, can you hear me?
You're unmuted. For some reason, we're not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, Clyde. Good to meet you. Thanks for. My question is, tell us about your perspective on the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, and how the Spokane Airport should, or any organization should seek to incorporate such values into its operation.
Number one, I do believe that the makeup of the board is going to be looking like who the administrator that they report to. He has set the level and the guideline of what he wants his board to be diversified and also participate in the direction of leadership that he's given them. The board must always stay within those parameters. It's no different than looking down this table and I can tell you where the edge is here and the edge is over there and the end is there and the edge is in it. You know your parameters that you function within. But it all comes from the CEO and the directors and also the commission as we have here to help him arrive at if he's needed, if he asks, where are we going? What is going to be happening? Well, let me throw it out this way. Let me talk to our board and have them come up with some recommendations as far as what's going to be happening. I really believe in a unified board. You cannot have divisions within your board. You can have opinions, but not divisions. When you add personality into something, it doesn't work. It's got to be about the issue. And I really firmly believe that. I guess that's one of the things that at the time when I was asked by Governor Gregoire to be looked at the board, and I said at the statewide, and they said, but you voted Republican. And I said, you know what? I'm looking at the issue. What are we dealing with? See, I'm trying to say to you, the board has to take politics out of it and deal with it as the issue. That's really me. That's the cause of the board. And if that is where the CEO administrator of the airport is at, man, we are all there because he has created, in my mind, a very successful operation. Because I know when I look at the capital investments that we look under the growth management, it's always on the plus side. And being in business all my life, guess what? You got to be on the plus side because you're on the negative side, you're not in business. And we're in business out there. What we need to do is to say, okay, what are we going to do for the next 15, 10, 20 years? Have we made provisions? And he needs to give the board the direction to say, find the provisions, maybe working with some of the people like Clyde, who has been involved, is involved on the planning commission. What are they doing to help us to give services, render services so that we can have more Amazons or whatever it's going to, I don't know what the next future business is out there, but that's what it's all based upon. Remember I told you, I'm a dream builder. I'm a functional person that deals with the issue. And I believe that. God has given me that skill to do that, and I want to share with you that one all the time. Now we'll make it short. Did I help a little bit on that question?
Sure. Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
Sorry to be so passionate about it, but I am.
No, you're good. So we've just got a few minutes left. So is there anything else that you want to make sure that you let us know?
Well, you know, I do have a few things, and I'm sorry to bring them always up. I'm a very busy, active person. I don't sit in front of the TV. I spend my time, and I'm committed to whatever it is. As being a landscape architect, I've been involved. I'm number 34 in the state. Al, which number are you? Architect.
You an architect?
Yes.
I'm 372.
Well, I'm 34.
Yeah.
So I've been at it a little bit longer than you have. Okay. What we're saying is that we've been around the horn a couple times, but as a practicing landscape architect, I've had a lot of opportunities to share on planning. I do a lot of consulting with private individuals on developments and it can be from real estate to construction. Some of them I've got in place right now exceed $87 million that I've been consulting. Why do you think they call me the dream builder? Because I sit down and I work with them on a ledger sheet. I sit down and they ask me questions. Clyde, what do you think of this? Well, my feet aren't stuck in the ground yet. Let me tell you what I think about it, and I'll share with you. But I do that. I work with the Hub Sports Center. We're developing out there. We're developing that. I was asked to join Max Spalding and a few other people out there. Why? Because they ask my opinion. I become involved. I share with people. I believe that elected officials, I think this process of picking people, it does take a long time, or the board, but it is the best because you have to know where I'm coming from. I foresee the commission to be a very positive one out there. It is positive. It has been highly successful. We need to look at it and say, okay, how can we better it? And maybe I can be part of that process as you build it and bring it together. Through the Planning Commission, I would hope that I will be asked, Clyde, what's happening out here on some of this vacant land? You just brought in 112 acres. Why did you do that? It's next to the freeway. This all affects the airport. Come on, we need to arrive. That's it. We're all living in Spokane County. We're not individuals, we're Spokane County. We must communicate. I believe I have the time, I have the commitment, and I have the desire to be on the board. I'm not gonna be around the bush. Am I getting old? Yeah, but God's blessed me. I play tennis 5 to 7 days a week. I'm a little bit hoarse this morning because I usually play tennis every single morning for an hour and a half. I always get my 10,000 steps in by 9 o'clock. I am a hard player at tennis. And as we said when we walked in this morning at the front door, I really have commitment to whatever I take on. I have the time now. My wife and I had planned ahead, and I'm financially able to do these things. And I feel that's a very important part. I would like to bring it to the end and say, I am a dream builder. The words that I many times live with is that I have my faith, my family, and my friends, and that's what's got me through. But I also must tell you, words can be cheaper than my actions. My actions have proven where I've been. I have not failed or not done my job. And I want to say thank you. I'm almost on time, am I correct?
You are.
I hope I've answered or allowed any questions from you. What haven't I done?
No, I think you did a great job. So.
I have many things personal I can tell you about, but again, I want to deal with the issue of the airport. Remember I said I'd deal with the issue.
Yeah.
So, with that, it's 9:30.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time to come down and putting your name in. You know, it's important that we, you know, have citizens do that. So
I
thank
look
you.
forward to serving, and tomorrow I'll be out there working out whatever you make your decision and learning about the airport.
Perfect. And then also thank you for your service on the Planning Commission as well.
I've had fun with it. And I have to be honest with you, I look forward to the GMA. Again, why? Because I helped bring it in. And everybody says, well, Clyde, you're the one that's been here that still knows what's going on. And guess what? It hasn't been all beauty. There's been some ugly spots, have we not? Would not agree. You haven't experienced some of these yet, but when you get into the planning of the GMA, people in the community rely on you and I to serve on those committees. They don't understand growth management. Crap, sometimes I can barely understand it, what it's all about. What I really love is the freeholder process that has brought about representation by diversification and the representation that's taking place here. So,
Thank you.
any other questions? Commissioner,
Thank you.
thank you for your time.
Yes.
Okay,
Appreciate it. You have a great day.
I am always gonna have a great day.
Did you already get your 10,000 steps?
No, I'm
Oh,
gonna do it this
Better go.
afternoon now.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure meeting you, Commissioner.
It's great to see you, Clyde.
Mary,
Great to see you.
thank you.
Good to meet you. Thank
Welcome
you.
aboard.
Have a good day, sir.
I will. Thank you again.
Just give us a couple more minutes. Just bring them in right on time, so that way we give everybody time. So Gina, clarification, so I know the questions were sent out to us, did this questions go out to the candidates as well? Yeah. Interviewing? Yeah.
And just so there's no confusion, the reason why his number is lower than mine is because we started licensing architects long before landscape architects. So we got a lot of history before they ever
That's what I was
licensed
thinking.
landscape architects.
Oh. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming and taking part in the interview process. So we have the same questions. I didn't realize, but I guess everyone got them ahead of time. So
Yes.
that's, you know, the things I learned. So anyway, so we'll go through the 5 questions, but want to give you an opportunity to start to just tell us a little bit about you. And
Absolutely. Well, my name is Kelly Fukai. I am a lifelong Spokane resident, born and raised here, graduate of Gonzaga University, go Zags. Proud mother of 3 beautiful kids. I have a junior in college, a senior in high school, and a junior in high school, so fast approaching the empty nester phase. And currently work for the Washington Technology Industry Association, where I'm their VP of Government and Community Affairs, lead their engagement, particularly focused on workforce development.
Commissioner French, you've got the first question.
So the Spokane International Airport Board works in concert with the CEO to provide excellence in air travel and customer service and to serve as a catalyst for economic development for the region. It is important each board member provides a unique skill set or perspective to enhance the board's efforts supporting SIA in the region. What specific experience, skills, and values do you bring to this board, and how do you anticipate utilizing them to serve SIA in the region?
Thanks, Al. Great question. I'm a CPA, inactive. Recovering CPA is what I like to tell folks. That's where what I got my degree in from Gonzaga, and then I went on to get a master's in business as well. I am a certified member of AAAE, which is the American Association of Airport Executives. I have maintained that post my work at the airport. I spent the start of my career in the utility space, working in accounting and finance there, doing creating budgets, both operations and management budgets, as well as capital budgets, then transferred within the organization to work on the operational side, mainly on the natural gas commodity side, where I put together long-term procurement plans, so purchasing and sale of natural gas, optimizing the assets around that particular resource. I also led their 20-year integrated resource plan. And then I spent a great deal of time working in the policy, regulatory, and rate-making space. Then went on to work in an advanced manufacturing company for equipment that protects the electric power system. And that was a great opportunity for me to spread my regulatory and policy wings in a more regional approach. I was there, managed all of their Western states. So there we focused a lot on workforce development and economic development, and then again, policy at the state, local, and federal level. I currently, as I said, work for the Technology Industry Association, statewide tech association representing 1,000 members across the state, from a lot of small IT startup companies to some of the iconic companies that you all know and love and use probably on a daily basis. I also did a stint working for a marketing company as a project manager, and that was also in the advanced manufacturing space, particularly on the telecom side. So I think I have a very interesting background that provides a great breadth and depth of experience in different sectors that the airport touches, in utilities, infrastructure, advanced manufacturing, which is their focus with their engagement in the economic development world. I've also done a lot of community service. That was something that was instilled by my parents in us at a young age, to be involved in our community, and I have done that. I've served as board chair and treasurer for the Girl Scouts. I've also been the board chair for the Valley Chamber. Currently serve on the College Success Foundation, the Inland MultiCare's Inland Northwest Foundation, as well as WSU Spokane's advisory board. And I was very blessed to be appointed to the Washington State Transportation Commission a few years ago. And I also serve on the Spokane Regional Transportation Council here, representing the commission in Spokane. So I think my combination of breadth and depth in sector experience, as well as breadth and depth in types of activities, whether it's accounting and finance, all the way resource planning to advocacy. I think I have a very good set of skills that can be well utilized by the board.
That's a good follow-up question.
Yes.
So you mentioned that you're a certified member of AAAE. That was at, I think, Mr. Crowder's encouragement. He does that with all of the employees. In fact, there are 14 other employees out there that also have that same certification. But since you left in September of last year to today, what is it that has changed that leads you to believe that you can go from an employee to Mr. Crowder's boss?
Well, I think that I would be one of Mr. Crowder's bosses, along with all the other members of the board, so not just me alone in that capacity. But I don't think that just because I was an employee, that makes me not relevant in a conversation around how we manage the airport. So I don't think that the way it's been, I think, sort of characterized, that because I worked for Larry, that I would not be able to serve in a capacity. There's many instances in which employees become bosses of previous leaders. So I don't see that is any type of conflict in any way. I had a wonderful working relationship with Larry. I think very highly of Larry. He runs an amazing organization, I think, as everyone here knows. And I don't see any reason why me serving in that capacity would be of concern for either him or any of the board members.
So, welcome, Kelly. Good to see you. What do you believe are the duties of the airport board members, and how do those duties correlate to changes that you'd like to see occur at the airport?
Well, the duties of the board are prescribed and enumerated in statute, RCW 1408, and also operationalized in the interlocal agreement that is executed between the city and the county. And so they're very prescriptive in what the board's duties and functions are, and range from a host of things, including the overseeing construction, operation, and maintenance of the facility. There's also the governance component to it, helping establish policies and rules. And then further, the most important is really the fiduciary duty, overseeing the operations, maintenance, and capital budget and plans for the airport. The airport needs to be, and is currently, financially self-sufficient. That's required by a federal statute. There's federal grant assurances that that require the airport to do that. And I think one of the blessings of the operations of our current board, serving in this capacity, as well as Mr. Crowder's leadership, has maintained that high level of fiduciary responsibility. As far as what would I like to see and how do I think the airport, or I guess changes I'd like to see, and I don't know that necessarily they're really changes. I think it's really continuing upon the good work and operationalizing the strategic direction that has been set by the airport and the airport board. One of the things, though, I think that as the terminal expansion goes on, the opportunity to embrace technology as a way to help improve the efficiency and operations and also customer experience. I think we're all becoming more reliant upon technology and looking to that as a solution to help make our lives easier. And I think that I know that that is part of the TREX program, is thinking about ways in which they can utilize technology better and to improve the customer experience. And I think there's definitely opportunities in that space. I know another thing that they all have been working on very diligently is around how we can also support our local small businesses and get them more connected to the airport, opportunities at the airport. There are certainly challenges with airports that I think many folks don't realize in terms of the rules and regulations that govern the way in which space can be leased and what the cost of that space can be. And sometimes those are barriers for our local businesses to overcome. But I think there's opportunity there to work with the board along with Mr. Crowder and his great team to figure out ways that we can make that more accessible to our local communities.
Thank you.
Hey, Kelly, my question is, this is two parts. First, why do you want to be on the airport board? And then second, what do you see as the airport's largest area of opportunity for growth?
Thanks, Commissioner Burns. It's really simple. Why did I want to be on the airport board? I loved my time working for the airport. It was a lot of fun. It was a great team. I learned a great deal about the aviation industry, and quite honestly fell in love with what was going on in transportation. And that's what's led me to keep my role on the Transportation Commission, even though I'm no longer at the airport. I think it's an important part of our economy, critical infrastructure, in fact, and I really thoroughly enjoyed my experience there. And, you know, I thought about it for a long time and realized that, you know, the opportunity to serve on this board does not come very often, and that is evidenced by the long tenures of the existing members. And they're great, amazing individuals and have served the board well. And so I thought, this is an opportunity I have, I should take advantage of it. As far as what are the largest area for opportunity and growth, again, I think that we're realizing it right now. We're just at the start of it, the terminal expansion program, multi-year, multi-phased approach to continue to grow the footprint of the airport itself, to provide service to the community. And then the efforts that they have been engaged in terms of economic development on the airport property around the airport, trying to attract and draw advanced manufacturing companies, particularly focused in the aerospace and logistics, transportation sector, just completing the transload facility, huge asset to our region, and the way in which they think about their connectivity to the greater economic output of our region. I think it's exciting to be a part of that growth. It's exciting to watch that happen.
What do you believe the role of a Spokane International Airport Board member is, and how does that correlate to your thoughts on optimal relationships between board members and administration and staff in the organization?
Chair Cooney. I think that there are, as I've said, the role of the airport board member really is prescribed in statute, and it's very clear what those roles are for board members. However, I think I've called that three broad categories in which I would say that the board members operate in. And that's number one, as advisors. So as Commissioner French's question points out, what are the experiences that you bring to the table to help inform the decisions that our airport executives are making, and how you help support those decisions and strategic direction of the airport? I think there's also the role of advocates. Many times board members go along with airport leadership to help advocate for projects that are being constructed or funds that are needed to support the operations of the airport. And within the local community, talking about, new routes that are being added, or when projects come to completion, the ribbon cuttings. Those are opportunities for the board members to not only celebrate the work of the airport and the airport team, but also the community, because they're wins for the community. So being advocates and then also ambassadors, and those two kind of blend together a little bit, but really being carriers of the message, what the airport is trying to do, how we connect to the broader region, and really just highlighting all the amazing things that are going on out there.
Commissioner Jordan, go ahead.
Good morning. Good to meet you, Ms. Fukai. Thanks for interviewing. My question is, can you tell us about your perspective on the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, and how an organization like the airport should seek to incorporate such values into its operations?
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan, for that question. I do think it's an important question, and I think it's something that we're all, as a community, working on. And I think it's foundational to answer your question very simply. And I think that we are starting to see that movement where we are all recognizing the importance of moving that to sort of the top of the list. The top of the way we operate as boards, as organizations, is that we are diverse, that we're inclusive, and we foster an environment that is supportive of those different types of views. The airport is our community's front door. It's the first thing that many people see when they are engaging with our community, so it needs to have that feeling of inclusivity and welcoming. And so I think that, again, it's up to the leadership of the airport, which includes this board, to lean into diversity, equity, and inclusivity as an initiative. Mr. Crowder has already done that. I think his time when he was chair of AAAE, one of his hallmark pieces of work there was really leaning into DEI and establishing some great DEI programs within AAAE. So all I see is him continuing to carry that out within his organization. And one of the things that I've learned in my journey in this space is that, we used to treat it sort of as a one and done type exercise. We create the mission or the statement, we do a training, and we call it done. But what we've all come to understand is that it's really a process. It's a set of competencies that we all have to continually work on and develop, and think about through a lens of how do we make sure that we're touching those or reaching those who maybe aren't as involved or aren't as connected or don't understand or don't have accessibility. Those are all things I think that the board, the airport board, as well as leadership, can continue to foster and create, and again, lead the way in that environment.
Thank you.
So those are our questions that we have. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add or make sure that we're aware of and know.
Well, I just want to thank you all for the process. I think you have a great opportunity, and that you have a lot of wonderful people who care greatly. And I think that it speaks highly of the organization that so many people would want to continue to be a part of this process and engage with you all. I would say I'm really honored and thank you all for allowing me to come and share a little bit about me and why I care greatly about the airport. I do. I think I'm watching this almost with as much of an outsider's eye as well as whoever gets picked. Again, you have a great slate of candidates, and so whoever gets picked is very lucky to serve in that capacity, to work alongside Larry and his team out there. I just can't say enough, and I can't say enough about all of your engagement and time and effort spent supporting the airport. So from me, thank you for all that you do.
So just make sure there's no other.
Thank you.
Sure. Jordan, I'm sorry that I have my back to you, so you just need to speak up if you want to interject.
It feels very far away from this angle.
Exactly. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time for coming down today, and have a great day.
I will.
Okay. So our next interview is at 10:10, so we may take a break until just a couple minutes before 10:10, so about 10:05.
the
Okay, welcome back from our break that we just took. So we're continuing with our airport interviews, and next up we have Patty Shea. So Patty, I see that you're on Zoom there. There you go. We hear that you're in somewhere nice and warm. So good for you.
Yes, in Mexico.
We appreciate you taking the time to join us today, knowing it was short notice, to get everyone. So we knew we were going to either be Zoom or virtual or Zoom to accommodate that. So thank you for meeting that. So just starting off, just having you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the questions.
Okay, and then the internet's been pretty good, but it might stall out a little bit. So if I need to repeat, just let me know.
Sounds great. We can hear you just fine right now.
Okay, great. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I appreciate it. Born and raised in Spokane, worked my whole career in Spokane in North Idaho with Vista Utilities for 39 years, retired from there in 2019 and started a consulting business. And with all the different skills I was able to learn at Vista, it's been really helpful working with Gonzaga University and credit unions and you name it. So really enjoy it. I'm a private pilot. I've been so since 2008. So I have a love of aviation. So I'm just really excited to be here and have this opportunity to speak with you today.
Very good. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and start with Commissioner French. We'll start with the first question.
Thank you. So Spokane International Airport Board works in concert with the CEO to provide excellence in air travel and customer service and to serve as a catalyst for economic development for the region. It is important for each board member provides a unique skill set or perspective to enhance the board's effort supporting SIA and the region. What specific experience, skills, and values do you bring to this board, and how do you anticipate utilizing them to serve SIA and the region?
Thank you. First of all, experience. That 39 years with Vista, all of that being a North Idaho regional business manager and also a greater Spokane area regional business manager. I spent my time in the community with municipalities, city councils, county commissioners, EDCs, education, healthcare, finance, chambers of commerce, small business, manufacturers. I'm the face of Vista in North Idaho, both for making decisions and also just being out in the community. I served on 25 different community organizations, usually holding officer type position. With my background too, the company moved me around a lot, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in this next little part on my skills, but operations, construction, ran crews. I was very spoiled to be able to learn a lot about a lot of different things and have relationships that are wide and in depth, both in Spokane over in North Idaho. So that's my experience. Skills, excellent written and communication skills, verbal skills, proven interpersonal skills. I got known at Vista as the fixer of the tough stuff. So what ended up happening was whatever position I was in, if the company found an area that they either had a process problem or a people problem, they would pluck me out of the job I was in. They'd usually put me in that other area for about 9 months to a year to solve whatever that process or people problem was. And I used to always laugh. They'd say, we have a process problem. And I said, I'm pretty sure you have a people problem too, because people implement the process. So we'll start there. And what I found a lot of times is some miscommunication, some hard feelings. And once you get past some of those kinds of things and get to know the other person, you're able then to solve the process problem pretty easily. Not afraid to tackle the tough issues in relationships. And I think that's working with linemen for most of my career. They're pretty blunt. So you develop a little bit of a thick skin, but you also develop a way to be able to have a respectful conversation, candid conversation. I have an excellent reputation in the community, and I'm a person of my word. My values is that being respectful, transparent, and candid dialogue. And again, I think I get that from working with linemen a good share of my life. I like to be curious, so I like to be open to learn and understand all viewpoints, and definitely trustworthy and ethical. I don't compromise on that. How I would use and utilize this for the benefit of SIA and our community, it's really the values and who I am. It's a part of who I am, both personally and professionally, and it's how I conduct myself throughout my whole life. So it's woven into the ways that I treat people. Again, open to that input and feedback. And I believe that, you know, the mission of the board really is the screen that we should all be using as we discuss issues and that we make decisions.
Very good, thank you.
Hi, Patty. I'm Commissioner Amber Waldron. Nice to meet you over Zoom. So you were just talking about the mission of the board. What do you believe are the duties of the airport board? And how do those duties correlate to changes you would like to see occur at Spokane International Airport?
Thank you. We're responsible to Spokane area citizens, and that really is, I feel the role is being that proven oversight, both the facilities, of the services that are offered, and also as well as airport administration. And I believe that you get this accomplished through strategic planning, fiscal responsibility, and efficient and effective construction and operations. And right now, I currently don't have anything that I want, that I know of that needs to be changed. Whenever I was new to these departments where the company would move me around, a lot of times I'm not the expert in that area, nor am I the expert in this. So I would really get to learn and know and understand and listen and learn about what's going on, learn from my other board members. So right now, I want to be able to just soak it all in and learn, observe, and get to inquire and ask appropriate type questions so that I can learn. One of the things I did at Avista on how I kind of developed that learning process is we had a program called Aspiring Leaders where a number of people would get picked for about a year, and then they would travel throughout our service territory and talk to other leaders, which I was one. And when they would come to me and say, what's the sage advice you can give me, Patty, which I'm sure I'm going to get sage advice from other board members, was really, I had my sage advice from all the mistakes I had made throughout my career. So it was like, here's some mistakes I made. You don't want to make these ones. And then the other part of it would be, I did a few things right too, and those are good. So it became known throughout the company. So the company finally now has incorporated all those questions, and I use those every day with new people as I'm getting to learn. And now they have made that a part of what all leaders go through so that they have a tool to be able to use with their employees. Oh, and just so you know, my background in this and the duties I think would help with correlating in this is I was in 16 different jobs in 12 different departments in the company over my 39 years.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Hi, Patty. I'm County Commissioner Josh Kearns. And my question is kind of a two-part question. First part is, why would you like to be on the airport board? And the second part is, what do you see as the airport's largest area for opportunity and growth?
It's been a lifelong goal of mine to be on this board, and I always was sad when I never even got an opportunity to interview for it. So this is pretty exciting for me. I could check it off the bucket list that I at least was interviewed. So I'm feeling really good about that. I really have a passion for Spokane and Coeur d'Alene and the North Idaho region, the success of all of us, and blurring that line between the two, because we have enough things to fight about between counties and states. And so how can we bring those together? I think my love of aviation, I've got my Cessna in my little ear. I mean, I eat and breathe aviation. And I respect aviation. I think my 42 years of community experience in those relationships really will tie into how does all this work and why I like to do it. I like to be involved. I like to see things get done. I like to be part of a team. I think the largest area for opportunity and growth, this is maybe a little different take than what you heard, but really, as I believe we need to continue to seek input and feedback and continue to be abreast of changes, both advancements in air travel, transportation, technology, but continue to do that strategic planning for the expansion and growth, and specifically looking for maybe new and different opportunities that we haven't seen before. And how does this specifically affect our communities directly around the borders, which you have done as board members already, but to continue to make that outreach. And I think it takes outreach because we can never over communicate. And I would look for how we can engage our outlying communities and organizations and small business and those things more. Just as an example, being over in the Coeur d'Alene region for the last about 11 years of my career. Larry and Todd both have come over several times, both as speakers for our EDCs, for our chambers of commerce, but reaching out to North Idaho. And they were very deliberate in bringing specific airline representatives to us and saying, hey, what do you guys need in North Idaho? You're a part of all of this too. And they listened to what we had to say. And they made us feel like we're on an even keel with Spokane. And that was nice, right? Because sometimes when you're in an outlying office or outlying area, you get forgotten maybe just because you're not always at the table. And so as like I was a chair of our EDC, and a lot of times they would bring those people to the board members of the EDC so we could have those really good conversations and see how we can benefit one another. So I really appreciate them being deliberate in that, bringing us to the table and making us feel like we're part of the team.
Very good. Thank you. So I'm County Commissioner Mary Keone. And so my question is, what do you believe the role of a Spokane International Airport Board member is? And how does that correlate to your thoughts on optimal relationships between board members and the administration and staff in the organization?
Now you're getting into the stuff I really love. So everything's spelled out in the RCW, really, if you want to go all the specifics. But I think there's other things as a role of a board member. We have to be informed and prepared for meetings, for discussions, for whatever it is, because we are the ambassadors and you're out in the public all the time. We need to be curious. We need to communicate and over communicate. That always sounds so easy, but it seems to be that's where the messes get sometimes. To listen, to understand before listening to be understood. So hearing that other point of view first and working toward common goals. And one of these is checking our egos at the door. That's something I have to do all the time. We all have egos. Egos are fine. It's when they get a little too big for our britches sometimes that's when we need to check them. And first look at, when we hear ideas, first look at how does this benefit the community? Instead of looking at it from, as a first brush, oh, that doesn't sound right, or there's something wrong, or there's something missing, and you jump on the negative part of it. Try to find ways to say, how would this work? How does this benefit everybody? And naturally, yes, you need to be the devil's advocate. What else do we need to do? You don't want to leave anything off the table. But so many times when I see ideas thrown out, if somebody criticizes it and goes right there and says, have you even looked at how does this work? Being trustworthy and ethical, those are paramount for me as an individual. And again, that respectful, transparent, and candid dialogue, and in all dealings, it should be that way. The other thing is too, though, I would say you have to realize that we're all human, and every board member is coming in there with their best shot, saying, this is, I'm giving you my best. And so we should all be looking for that in one another. So how would I coordinate that for the optimal relationships? Again, this is my expertise and what I love more than anything. You know, it's a two-way street. And I'm always looking at a reflection, self-reflection on what could I have done better? What could I have said differently if things get a little bit rough? Again, listening to understand and asking appropriate questions, but observing when you're new at something. And I've been new at so many different areas that in the company and others, it's like you have to learn first. You have to listen. You have to see how things are done. And you really shouldn't have a huge opinion right away until you know what you're talking about. Be open to that feedback. And then how can we move together as a board? And one of the things I learned when I was on the community colleges of Spokane trustee, that's an appointed position by the governor, was the chancellor at the time of the community colleges said, no surprises. I don't want any surprises. So you always make sure everyone's abreast of things and stay in your lane. As part of being a trustee, you're in charge of, you're helping the chancellor, the CEO. That person's in charge of how they run the business. And so knowing, he used to call it the green line, knowing what the green line is and where to step in. I also think too, one of the ways of correlating, just as an example, is when things go awry, one of the things I found is I had to quickly develop rapport with these areas. It's like, I'm only going to be here for 9 months or a year. So it's like they had to know who I was at a really in-depth, as fast as we could get there. I also had to know who they were. And part of that one form I was telling you about, some of that had more personal things that I could ask, like, how do you like to be recognized in public or private? And I found out by a mistake, not everyone likes to be recognized in public. You do something nice for somebody, they go, that's the worst thing that ever happened to me. How could you have done that? You're, oh my God. So one of the things was I had to let the employees know, how do they come to me to give me tough feedback? So I had to give them a way to make that easy. So what I would give them, I told them, I said, all you have to do is come to me and say, Patty, you told me I could tell you this. And I knew then I had some hard feedback coming. So sometimes I had to get myself in the right frame of mind to get that feedback. If I just had the worst call of my life, or they saw me have some interaction, maybe with a whatever that was hard, I tell them I'm human. Don't come to me if it looks like I've had my worst day and you want to now give me the worst feedback. But if you need to give it to me, tell me here, Patty, you said I could tell you this, then I would say back, if I could handle it right now, I'm ready. If I said, could I have just 5 minutes? I just need to kind of clear my head, put this stuff away, close out those things I was working on. Sometimes they say, no, it has to happen right now. So suck it up, Patty. Let's sit down and have that conversation and have it with an open mind.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a follow-up?
Yes.
So, Patty, a lot of the work that you've done through Vista and everything has been internal to the organization. And so with the airport board, the board members don't have that interaction with staff. The only one that reports to the airport board is the CEO. So that opportunity to do that lower level stuff that you've obviously built a great career out of isn't a role of a board member. How would you handle that aspect of it?
It's the same principles apply. So if dealing with either just Larry and or a few executives, is that what you're getting at?
Well, there are no executives other than Larry. Larry is the only contact with the airport board.
Okay, so just having that same kind of dialogue with him then, using those same principles to be able to have that same kind of dialogue, to get to know Larry, to see how does he tick, so that I understand, and I know him pretty well because of all the economic development things we've been on together in Washington, DC, or wherever else for policy. So it's the same conversation, even though he reports up to us, you still need to know that person, know how they tick, know what works for them, on how you have that dialogue, how you ask the harder questions, and allow that to come back towards us too. You know, if he's taking something I'm saying wrong, he needs to be able to say, Patty, this just sounds like you're off here, and you got to be able to have that dialogue. Does that answer your question?
Sure, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm up next. Good to meet you, Patty. Thanks for interviewing. I'm Commissioner Jordan.
Thanks for being on Zoom. Another Zoom.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. So my question is, tell us about your perspective on the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how the Spokane Airport should seek to or continue to incorporate such values into its operations.
Everyone is an individual. Our collective experiences from the time that we're born, through our family, through our friends, through school, through our jobs, forms who we are, and we're forming every single day. And every interaction that happens, something major, minor, that affects us, changes who we are, right? So even this is who you see today, maybe it's different later. So always remembering that. As we're shaped and continue to be shaped, I believe we really need to be willing to see others from their perspective, and stop the rebuttal that goes on in your head. Sometimes we're human. We get instant indications or an opinion or something that comes up when you're talking with someone, and to shut that inner voice off, to say, if it's gyrating, I'm not hearing a word the other person's saying. So to shut that off and be able to listen to that. And ask for assistance in understanding. So if there's something I don't really understand, politely, respectfully ask so that I can learn, so I can be a better human being, a better board member. So seeking to incorporate these values, I see them as a scan for everything that you do. Diversity, equity, inclusion, every decision, every discussion, are we holding all three of those up? Also, what research can I do to learn and be better informed so that I am better at this? discuss as board members, how do we do that? And how do we hold each one accountable? And if somebody's off a little bit, how do you respectfully go, this one, let's talk about this. And maybe you hopefully can do that maybe in private or something. Because sometimes I don't know what I don't know. And everybody else doesn't either. And so how do we help each other to be the best that we can be for the jobs that we're performing for our community? I think too, getting some training. I'd like to see what kind of training either is offered through HR and or other things where we can do that. And again, my own research, but let's get feedback. How am I doing? How's Patty doing with all of these things? Is she doing well? Is she not? What didn't I catch? One of the things I thought was interesting, Scott Morris told Thane McCullough at that GU, and I'm actually an Eastern grad. I'm an MBA grad from Eastern, but Scott got me a job with them during the pandemic. He called up Thane because he's on he's a regent, and they were going through COVID, and it was quite a mess at the beginning, like it was for all of us, right? Not like we had a playbook for this. And Scott said, "You need Patty." And so Thane calls up and he goes, "Hi, I'm Thane." And Scott says, "I need you." So I need you. So for a year and a half, I helped them through COVID, not something I was good at, but I'm good at organizing and getting people to work together and facilitating that sort of thing. Well, it was the first time I had seen pronouns underneath their signature. So it was like he, she, but I was like, this is interesting. I wonder how often they use that, right? It wasn't something when I left Avista that we had. And so I'm curious more about how do you do that? How do I not put my foot in my mouth and say something that I shouldn't because I'm not aware? So trying to be aware. Well, the other day I was at Verizon getting my phone transferred over, and I noticed on his name tag, it said he, she, they. And so I went, and I said, "Can I ask you a question?" And he said, "Sure." And I said, "What pronoun do you prefer?" Because I was lost by looking at those three, right? Confused for me. And he said, "Whichever one you're comfortable with." And I said, "Oh, great." I said, "Thanks." Right? So I asked him a few other questions. So again, I still have a lot to learn in this area. Oh man, a ton. I'm sure there's a ton there. And I have some experiences on doing that. I know what it's like to be, I will call it the odd man out. At Avista, at one time, I was the only woman construction manager out of 1,400 employees. And if you don't think that's a different way, a fine line that you walk between being too fluffy, too hard, was interesting. So I've experienced some of that myself. And I think I look for others that maybe either look uncomfortable or something doesn't sound right, or I watch body language, eyes. It's like you can learn a lot by, again, being observant. So again, I have a lot to learn, but I think we help each other. And that's what I would hope every board member is there to make each one of us a success, so that SIA is a success, and so is all of our communities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? So,
Can
so,
I ask the question?
yes, so I was just gonna like turn it back to you too. Do you have any questions for us, or do you have anything else you want to add?
I have three questions, and one person can answer. I'm not asking each one of you to answer this, so whoever feels like answering would be helpful. What are the pain points? If you had to pick one pain point right now for the board, or as you as an individual on the board, what is that right now, if you're willing to share?
So I'm going to have Commissioner French probably answer the questions for you, since he is the commissioner that sits on the airport board.
Okay.
There are two main priorities for the airport board right now. One, attracting new airlines and new air service to the Spokane region. And part of that is the TREX project, expanding to be able to meet not only the needs of our current employments, but also for future growth. So for the airport, that's the main priority right now. And then secondarily to that is economic growth and prosperity. That's why we've invested in transload and supporting of the aerospace industry because they bring high-tech jobs to the region and stuff. So I think those are the top priorities for SIA. And then Phelps Field, it's all about customer service and updating that facility so it meets the needs of a general aviation airport.
Do you guys have direct interaction with NWAC?
Absolutely. In fact, I sit on NWAC's board.
Okay.
And stuff. So and so we do have a lot of interaction with Denmark.
Okay, thank you. The second one, and if Al, if you, Mr. French, if you want to answer this, is fine. What legacy do either you personally or as a board want to leave for our community? When you're all said and done and you're off the board.
Well, and Larry is doing a great job of getting us there. And in fact, if you saw the article in the newspaper, I believe yesterday or Saturday, talking about how flight delays out of SIA, we've got the fewest number of flight delays in SIA of any mid-size airport in the country. And we are outperforming international airports across the country. So, to continue to do that and set the high bar, Larry just came off of serving 1 year as the AAAE president and has done more as president in his 1 year than the previous 7 did in 7 years. So it's constantly raising that bar to provide the best possible airport we can for the region.
Thank you. And I just have one more. How would you, and you can pick on this one, would you describe either the culture of the group, the board, or the working relationships internally with Larry, or even the surrounding communities? You can pick. I'm just kind of curious as to the culture, the working relationship.
Actually, the culture on the board now and prior to this last year has been really, really congenial and cooperative. Each one of us has an area of expertise that we use to try and help Larry do his job. And so it's a very supportive, congenial atmosphere, constantly pushing to try and excel.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. And I just want to thank you again for this opportunity, and thank each one of you for your service. There's nothing harder than serving in your community in whatever way you look, because a lot of things get thrown at you. So well done and thank you.
Well, we just want to thank you for being, putting your name forward and being willing to be interviewed today. We appreciate it and hope you can enjoy the rest of your time in the warm weather.
Yes, Mexico's really nice right now. I tried not to show you the beach, so I'm in a corner. You guys have a great day. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Six, what's our next time?
10:45, so we will, he is here. We want to stay on time, or do we want to just take a little break in between, or?
Tom, is Tom next?
Yep.
If he's here, we could just get going.
Just don't know, since
Unless you.
did we publish the times? No. Okay, so, yeah. I think we could.
Good morning.
Yes, good
Right
morning.
here?
Yep,
Okay.
Yes.
that's the one acquired.
Not with electricity, I hope.
I'm just gonna say, just making sure I got my times down here right. So welcome, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time and opportunity to apply and be willing to come talk to us. So
Well, thank you for having me.
we will let you start off with just giving a little bit of an introduction of yourself.
Okay. Any particular category you would like me to introduce? Probably the best way to start out then is my background. Kind of born and raised here in Spokane, Lewis and Clark High School. I was the youngest of 4 boys. My dad was an attorney here in Spokane. His primary client was Avista, so I kind of grew up hearing all about Wendell Satry and Paul Redmond and all of those people. He was managing partner at Payne Hamblin, but his practice is really focused on Avista. Youngest of 4 boys. All of my brothers and my parents and grandparents, or most of them, went to the U of W. I didn't really know any other college existed, so I only applied to the U of W. Went there and quickly decided I wanted to go into business and accounting. Studied hard, graduated a quarter early, took the CPA exam, and I think at age 21, I was passed the CPA exam, Wanted to come back to Spokane, got married, and spent the first 3 years of my career at Deloitte Haskins and Sells, which was one of the big 8 accounting firms back then. And as a auditor for them, I audited the Washington Water Power, or what was in the Washington Water Power, Old National Bank, Kaiser, the Boy Scouts, and other companies in our area. Decided that I wanted to get more academic experience and went to business school, went to Wharton in Philadelphia, and really wanted to come back to Spokane. Always have loved Spokane, but wanted to go into investment banking, and there just weren't a whole lot of investment banking opportunities in Spokane. So I went to work for a regional investment banking firm by the name of Dane Bosworth, which was based in Minneapolis, but had an office in Seattle, and it was a tremendous experience. I was mentored by a former individual from Goldman Sachs, and I was in Seattle right when Seattle was really becoming a tech hub. And I learned the art of investment banking and spent about 9 years underwriting public offerings for emerging companies in the region, advising on mergers and acquisitions, and also privately placing equity and debt capital for companies of all sizes. Then one day, I always wanted to come back to Spokane. I always thought the perfect timing would be when my oldest daughter, and I have 3 children, was going to enter elementary school. And coincidentally, I got a call one day from Dave Clack. And Dave said, Tom, we have this entity called Spokane Capital Management that was formed during Momentum to really kickstart the local economy in terms of funding startup companies. I jumped at the opportunity. I came back. And that was 1995. And over the next, 3 or 5 years, I took what was really kind of a defunct seed fund and raised over $100 million to become one of the largest venture investors in the state of Washington. And funded companies all around the state in the Northwest. A couple of huge victories here in Spokane, including the companies that Bernard Danes started, Packet Engines and Worldwide Packets, both of which had very nice exits, over $300 million in proceeds. Did that. Then I had an opportunity one day to teach at Gonzaga. And went out there and I jumped at that. Always kind of wanted to get back into teaching or have a chance to do that. And very early on, I met a student by the name of Josh Neblett. And Josh and I came up with an idea for a business, and it took off. It was initially called Green Cupboards. And over the next 8 years or so, we grew that to over 120 million in revenues and sold it about 6 years ago. Since then, I have really been very involved in angel investing in the community. I put together 4, or actually kind of 5 angel funds under the name of Kickstart to kickstart the growth of young companies in our region. I have also, I was asked several years ago to take over what was then called the Delta Angel Group. It was an angel investment organization. I did that, and we collectively have grown that to, it was like about 20 members when I joined. We have over 100 members. Since I've been part of that, the Spokane Angel Alliance, we changed the name, has now, the members have put about 70 million into about 70 companies in the region. So it's been a very successful economic development initiative. 3 years ago, I was asked to also take over Ignite. I did that. And changed the mission a bit to fund, accelerate, and mentor explosively growing companies in the Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, and Sandpoint area. I believe that's been successful. We've dramatically increased the number of programs that we're offering, reduced expenses, increased revenues, and doubled the size of capital that we have available to loan to young companies. I've also served on the boards of directors and advised the boards of directors of publicly held companies, private companies, and nonprofits. Lastly, I'm a pilot. I have an airplane out at Phelps Field. I have a hangar out there, and flying has kind of been one of my passions throughout my life. 3 kids, love yoga, love triathlons, love traveling. Came back from walking the Camino in October, which was a tremendous experience, and I think that pretty much summarizes my background.
So thanks for being here, Tom. So Spokane International Airport Board works in concert with CEO to provide excellence in air travel and customer service and to serve as a catalyst for economic development for the region. It is important each board member provides a unique skill set or perspective to enhance the board's efforts supporting SIA in the region. What specific experience, skills, and values do you bring to this board, and how do you anticipate utilizing them to serve SIA in the region?
Well, I could probably repeat my background, but I think you've already heard that. I think really the unique thing that I offer to the board is really my background as an entrepreneur and working in economic development and working with organizations of all sizes to meet their mission, hire teams, and deliver on their objective. And as I look at the board now, it's a great team of people, but the component that is missing is this laser focused background in economic development, entrepreneurship, and growing organizations. I also think, my experience as a pilot probably is helpful. I don't know for sure if any of the other board members, I know Larry's got his license, are familiar with taxiways and runways and air traffic controllers and those sort of things.
I think Larry's the only one.
Yep.
Hi, Tom.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Good.
So what do you believe are the duties of the airport board? And how do those duties correlate to changes you would like to see occur at the airport?
Yep. I have served on a lot of boards, and I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I always approach a new board with an open mind and a fresh piece of paper, and not really having any particular agenda. But I view the duties of a board really are to hire the CEO, develop the strategic plan, review and approve the annual operating plan or budget, and to monitor performance and rinse and repeat. I think it's really quite straightforward, and that's the approach I take to every board that I am on. As it correlates to any change, again, I don't come into this position with any agenda about what needs to be changed. The only thing I know for sure is that there will be change. One of my favorite quotes is, if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevancy even less.
Thank you.
Tom, I have the next question. Mine is sort of a two-part question. The first part is, why do you want to be on the airport board? And then the second part is, what do you see as the airport's largest area for opportunity and growth?
Okay. The reason I want to be on the board is because the airport and what it does, its mission, my potential involvement really are at the intersection of two of my key passions. One of it, which is flying. I got my license when I was 18 years old. I'd always wanted to become a pilot, and I mentioned that to my parents, and they were not very happy about that. I came home one summer between my freshman and sophomore year in college and picked up a book on how to fly, read it, took the test, passed it, and also started taking lessons out at Spokane International Airport. After 13 hours, I was soloing. Now I understand why my parents did not want an 18-year-old child to be flying an airplane. But by the end of the summer, I had my license. I set a goal, and really within 3 or 4 months became a pilot. So flying has been a passion of mine, and economic development, for some of the reasons I've already highlighted, is a passion of mine. So that's why I want to be on the board. It's again, the intersection of two things that I really enjoy and have experience at. This is also not my first time applying for the board. I put my name in the hat back when Jennifer West came on the board. So this is not something that, this is something that I've actually wanted to do for a number of years. In terms of the opportunities, I look at, the Spokane International Airport as having flywheel potential. And by that, I mean, how can we optimize the assets, the surplus real estate to attract or create new businesses that will hire people at attractive wages. And then those jobs will then create more demand for air travel and air cargo. And then by that, we'll have more resources to create more jobs and more demand, and it will become a flywheel.
Thank you.
So Tom, the next question is, what do you believe the role of the Spokane International Airport Board member is, and how does that correlate to your thoughts on optimal relationships between board members and the administration and staff in the organization?
Okay, I think I addressed what I believe the duties of the board are. What I specifically believe my role is, one, to carry out the duties of the board. And then I have a unique perspective. And that perspective, and it's one that I really came to heart when I had my company, Green Cupboards. And I put together a board of people that had skills I didn't have. I brought in Wayne Williams, whose family ran Telect. I brought in Murray Huppen, who had retail and e-commerce experience. And I brought in David Barbieri, who was the CIO of Red Lion Hotels. And that board, the key function that each of those board members brought to me is whenever we had an opportunity presented to us, hiring somebody, a new product, a new customer, I would brainstorm with the board how we could optimize the probability that we would be successful in pursuing that opportunity. Similarly, whenever we had a challenge, bad news, a bad day, an obstacle came up, I would use my board to brainstorm about how we can minimize the likelihood of that challenge coming to fruition. So that's really what I view my role is. Let's look at opportunities and challenges. And how do we bring the opportunities across the finish line? And how do we make sure the challenges don't happen? Now, in terms of communication, I believe the primary communication is with the CEO. But in the strategic planning process, the budgeting process, the monitoring process, of course, you have exposure to the staff and other people on the executive team, and that's important. But outside of those processes, I'm a big believer in transparency. For example, if what, and it happens to me, unfortunately, too frequently, because a lot of the organizations I'm working with are somewhat less mature and maybe perhaps less professional, but it's not infrequent for someone on a management team or a lower level person to call me and say, hey, Tom, just want to let you know what's going on inside the company. And I go, thank you for the call. But first, in terms of transparency, does the CEO know you're talking to me? And I don't go any further unless the CEO has approved that conversation. Similarly, I don't pick up the phone and talk to anybody unless the CEO, I have the approvals from the CEO to talk to that person. That's the normal process. Now, of course, occasionally things are going sideways and you need to go around that. But for a typical day-to-day involvement with the staff, leadership, with the CEO, the leadership team, and the staff, that is the way that I work and communicate.
Hi, can you hear me, Tom?
I can hear you very well.
Good. Well, it's good to hear from another 509 Husky. So thanks for interviewing and thanks for being here. We do exist. We do exist. So my question is, tell us about your perspective on the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how the airport should seek to incorporate or continue incorporating such values into its operation.
Very important question. And a lot of my answers I have learned kind of over 35 years of, for lack of a better graphic, scars on my back. And I don't know where I first read it or observed it, but culture trumps strategy. It's essential for any successful organization to have a culture where everybody feels empowered, appreciated, their opinion is heard. You've got a diversity of ideas. So, DEI is critical to having that form of culture. We need to have diversity so that as challenges and opportunities come up, we have creative thought that is going to help us get through those. Everybody on the team needs to have the resources and tools to succeed so they can put their best foot forward, to have the opportunity to prosper. And everyone needs to be included. Everyone's views need to be heard. So I think it's critically important. And for as a board member of the airport board, I will ensure that we have policies and programs in place that are appropriate for an organization of this type and of this size.
Thank you.
Do you have any additional comments or questions from the commissioners?
One quick. So you own an airplane and a hangar out at Phelps Field.
Yep.
And so I think you're the only candidate that has that. So from your perspective, and you're also involved with SETA.
I'm not a member of SETA.
Okay.
I've attended some of their functions, but I'm not a dues paying member, for which some of the people out there do slap my hand for or recommend I join.
So the airport board not only handles SIA, but it also handles Phelps Field and stuff. So where are the opportunities in your mind with regard to Phelps Field and its either continued growth or growth opportunities it's not pursuing yet?
Yeah. Well, let's presume I am successful in building this flywheel. And if we do that, the Spokane International Airport is going to continue to become constrained. So Phelps Field provides a great service in two ways. One, it diverts traffic away from Spokane International. And frankly, since I started flying again, I have yet to have landed out there. Now I took my first lessons when I was 18 out there, but now I just stay at Phelps Field. So I think it's really important that we keep that in mind. And two, general aviation is important. And frankly, I've been, quite pleased with the level of services out there and the new amenities, the Museum of Flight, for example, the fact that we still have air traffic controllers out there. That is so important for people who are not pilots to not realize how dangerous it would be not to have air traffic controllers out there. So I'm glad we still do. Longer term, there's going to be a need for more hangars. I bought a new airplane maybe a year and a half ago. My biggest concern was, how am I going to find a hangar? Fortunately, right after I placed an order for an airplane, one came available, and I happened to be one of the first guys that drove by the for sale sign. But more hangar space is going to be important. So those are my observations.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to make sure we know about?
What else? Probably in full transparency, this is a volunteer position, requires a lot of time and commitment. I do read the newspapers. There's obviously some level of personal scrutiny and potentially some personal liability. So you've got to ask yourself, why are you doing this? I don't necessarily need to do this, but I'm doing it because, again, back to the question about why I'm doing it, is really for passion for economic development in flying. That's the real reason.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good seeing you all. And,
Good to see you as well.
aside from this discussion about the airport board, keep doing what you're doing to make this city and this county as good as it possibly can be.
Thank you.
So long.
Appreciate your
Thanks.
time. Have a good day. commissioners, so we can go ahead and just start and get that a little early.
I don't know what you put on that bread, but it is addictive. I'm gonna eat half the loaf before I'm done.
We were early. Hi, guys. Yeah,
Good
thanks.
morning,
Good
slash
morning.
kind of early afternoon-ish. How is everybody?
Thanks for coming in early. Thanks for being here.
Well, Gina is amazing. She's like, come early in case they can squeeze you in, so I'm happy that I did, so. She also offered me cheesecake, and it takes them on the way out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Gina's the best.
She is the best. How is everybody?
Good.
Good.
Well, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Thank you for filling out, the application and applying. We truly appreciate everybody that has done that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for considering me, you guys.
So we have the same 5 questions for everybody, and just starting off with like a little introduction of yourself for us.
Sure, yeah. So first off, again, I just want to start with saying, like, I really am truly honored that I'm even being considered for this. I'm friends with Tom, friends with Kelly, and I don't know the other candidates as well as I know those guys, and I feel like I'm in some pretty elite, rare air, even being considered with those guys. So I just want you to know that I recognize that, and I really appreciate that. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Brooke Baker-Spink, Chief Development Officer here at Baker Construction and Development in Spokane, and local GC, 3rd generation builder. And we've got our primary and only office out of Spokane, but we build and operate over 12 Western states. So we did a little over 102 million last year, so really proud of that and excited for the future. I've got a little girl named London. She's almost 3, going on 42. She's wise beyond her years. Married to a great guy named Steve who does neuro and spine medical sales. We don't speak the same language. He's crazy smart, and but I'm really lucky. He's home every night. He's working primarily in North Idaho. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here today and answer any questions that you guys have.
Thank you. We'll start
Thank
with
you.
Mr. French.
So thank you for being here. Spokane International Airport Board works in concert with the CEO to provide excellence in air travel and customer service and to serve as a catalyst for economic development for the region. It is important each board member provides a unique skill set or perspective to enhance the board's efforts supporting SIA in the region. What specific experience, skills, and values do you bring to this board, and how do you anticipate utilizing them to serve SIA in the region?
Great question. Thanks so much. I feel like my business, construction, and real estate background really would bode well for this board, and obviously in turn help grow the airport in our region as a whole. I play a pretty dynamic role at Baker Construction and wear multiple hats as Chief Development Officer, but every day I'm working on our company financials, operating budget, operations as a whole, sales, marketing, pre-construction services, and long-term strategy planning, which I'm really grateful that I think that those unique skill sets that I have in my job right now would bode well for this board. Strictly isolating the construction portion of that alone, I'd love to help be kind of that liaison or that point person for the board for any projects that might be in the hopper. So if it's a ground up project or a remodel or an expansion, I'd love to help us navigate that process and be kind of that point of contact for the GCs, suppliers, architects, engineers, finance department, anybody else with a fiduciary interest. That's what I do at Baker right now. So help support the airport staff, make their lives a little bit easier, free them up to really do the things that they need to be doing to move the needle. Being a real estate developer myself too, I think that I have another unique viewpoint on projects. Not only do I know the construction costs and know how to handle those, but I can think from a bird's eye view about the total project costs and be able to report back to you guys and the staff or whoever that, yeah, we've thought through this project and it makes good fiscal sense and that this capital investment does pencil. So I think I just end with saying, I think I bring a lot of common sense to this board as well. I don't know that that's particularly unique, but I'm pretty pragmatic and practical when it comes to problem solving. I'm not afraid of challenges. And yeah, I think I also I would consider myself the next generation of leadership in Spokane. So I think that that's also a differentiator for me, is that I want to be able to bring generations together. But I'm not so young that I don't have experience in other leadership roles, which I put in my application. I'm on GSI's board right now, on their executive committee as well. I'll be coming in next year as the chair for the Greater Spokane Valley Chamber of Commerce. Done some amazing work with the Spokane Sports Commission and other groups, but yeah, I think that those are some things that would differentiate me from others, and I'd love to serve in that capacity.
Thank you.
Hi, Brooke.
Hey,
How are you?
good to see you.
What do you believe are the duties of the airport board? And how do those duties correlate to changes you would like to see occur at the Spokane airport?
Great question. I want to start this one out with saying that let's not fix what's not broken. We are a machine, and we have much to celebrate. And I mean, as evidence as our recent article yesterday, right? I mean, number 4 in terms of punctuality in the entire in North America alone, and far below industry standards for cancellation rates. So let's not try to fix something that's not broken, but let's work together to improve it. And what do we need to do to move from number 4 to number 1? So to answer that question, I think I'd say it is our duty as a board to ensure that we're doing what we need to be doing to make the travelers experience when they come into our airport and our facilities second to none. It needs to be friendly, clean, safe, efficient, doing things to promote the region. And I think we're already doing a great job of that. But how can we continue to improve? I think it's also important that this board provides the proper resources necessary to this staff from both a tangible and an intangible perspective. That Larry and his team know that we support them, and we're there to give them what they need, and that they have our backing to be as successful as possible. This board and the staff, but the board alone, I would say also has a lot of talent. There's a lot of relationships and connections and skill sets that this board has, and people need to make sure that they're leveraging those resources to best support Larry and his team. And the board and the staff need to be one ecosystem rowing in the same direction. So again, as far as changes, I don't know enough yet to say what proposed changes. I couldn't answer that, but if there was something that I saw along the way, you have my word, I won't be afraid to say something about it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. My question is has 2 parts to it. First part is just, why would you like to be on the airport board? And the second part is, what do you see as the airport's largest area for opportunity and growth?
Great question. Thanks so much. I want to be on the Spokane International Airport Board because I love Spokane. Spokaneite through and through, like I said. So I love this area. I love to travel. I love to serve. I love to develop, and I think that the board would find value in me joining the team. I mentioned London earlier. My little girl. I named her London because it's my favorite city in the entire world. So I couldn't name her Spokane. That's too obvious, right? But I named her London because I want her to be extremely open to new experiences and not afraid of things, and well-cultured. And that's what I want for her, and that's what I want for our region. And I think that travel affords people that opportunity to grow. I think that one of our biggest opportunities to grow would really be to dig into these parcels and this land that we have around the airport and our neighboring properties, and what we have going on with our friends in the West Plains. There are so many acres that are untapped and undeveloped, so I'd love to be a part of strategizing what's best to do with that land. And I'm really fortunate that I have the unique opportunity to do that with the current job that I have right now. I'm working with so many different types of businesses, construction types, industries, investment strategies, that a raw piece of dirt excites me. It doesn't scare me. So I think that's a huge opportunity for us to grow. Lastly, I want to be on this board because I like planes and I like aerospace. I was really lucky that when I was at Wazoo, I did an internship with Boeing. It was a virtual internship because I was in Pullman, and that was a really cool experience. And that was when we were working to roll out the conversion from the 787 to the 787. And I got to peek inside the tent as they strategized with their marketing team how to name the Dreamliner. So, and I had a front row seat in their Everett facility to see, how do you court airlines? How do you sell your strategic advantage? And at that time, it was obviously against Airbus. But I also, Mary knows this, but I'm an honorary commander. I just got done with my last experience there, but honorary commander at Fairchild Air Force Base. I love what our KC-135s do for us. That's been an incredible experience, and I was in the Operational Medical Readiness Squadron. Say that 10 times fast. So I just think it'd be a really cool opportunity to join the team. Thank you.
So question number 4 is, what do you believe the role of a Spokane International Airport board member is, and how does that correlate to your thoughts on optimal relationships between board members and the administration and staff in the organization?
Yeah, great question. I kind of hit on it earlier about what I really believe is the number one thing that we need to do as a board. But again, to reiterate, I think it's up to the board to make sure we're doing what we need to do to support the staff to make the traveler's experience second to none. I really think that that's kind of our big responsibility in whatever capacity that we need to do that. I think that the connection between the board and the staff is critical. I mean, that goes without saying, but clear communication from the top down, I think will only do good things between the two. And if Larry and his team are able to communicate to us, where are we going and how are we going to get there, then the board and our staff can be moving concurrently. We might be moving at different cadence, right? Different speed, but we're all moving towards the end goal. And again, Larry and his team are doing amazing things out here, and we just need to support him and rally behind him and do some heavy lifting on our side as well, not just be a board that you go to meetings on a monthly basis or however frequently, and then nothing gets done from meeting to meeting. I'm not saying that that's what it's like on this board, but we don't want that to be the case.
Mr. Jordan.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for being here today. Thanks for interviewing. My question is, can you tell us about your perspective on the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how the airport should seek to incorporate or continue incorporating such values into its operation?
Yeah, great question. Thanks so much. I don't have any formal diversity or DEI training, I should say, but I know that there's some amazing framework and resources out there that we absolutely should look into. If the airport has not done that yet, if we don't have somebody on the team, a staff member that's trained in DEI, then we need to train them up and or hire a professional to do that. Like, let's free up some capital in our, or free up some money in our operating budget and bring in the right professional, because I do believe, and I'm 100% confident that underrepresented groups do need to be at the table. They need to be on the board. They need to be members of the staff. So I think that there's great resources out there for us to help make sure that we're doing that, because it's very important. I'd also add that, I just want to make sure that everybody has feels safe and they feel like this is a place that they belong. And not only should people just, want to show up to work and feel safe and feel like they belong, that's just the right thing to do for humans, but people that feel safe and feel heard operate at their highest potential. So it's a win-win. It's just the right thing to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So those are the questions that we have. Is there any thoughts or comments that you want to make sure that we know?
Sure, I'm just curious from you guys, I mean, again, you've got some amazing candidates that you're chatting with today, but as you guys are looking to fill the seat, what is most important to you guys in the next board member that joins your team?
French. So Commissioner French sits on the airport board right now.
So, so as you look at the current composition of the board, we have some excellent leaders in different areas. I mean, Max Cooney with, paving and bridge construction, and we don't do a lot of bridges at the airport, but we do a lot of taxiways and runways and parking lots and things like that. You've got Jennifer West for marketing and communications. You've got Ezra Eckhart for banking and finance. You got Nancy Voorhees, who's past president for Lifelike and a big tenant out at Phelps and stuff. So as you look forward, what are the things we need? I think the two things that we need are, one, experience and business expansion, because that's one of the main roles of SIA is economic development, create more jobs and high-paying jobs, and then tracks. I mean, we are going to be investing, several $100 million in expansion at the airport, and so that construction background and being a resource for Larry and the team to help navigate those are the two areas that I think are the greatest needs for the airport as we move forward for the next couple of years.
I can do that. I want to help now. Cool.
Yeah.
I guess my second question, follow up on that, would be when do you guys hope to make your selection, or who would fill this?
What time is it?
No. Yeah, you're like yesterday. I know that, but when would be no?
So we're hoping that potentially by what we call by leave as adding it to our agenda tomorrow, if we all can come together. Otherwise, it'd be putting it on next week's agenda. So for sure by next week's agenda, we'll have it out.
That's great. Is there anything else that you guys want to know from me that I didn't cover today? I mean, I know I'm really fortunate. I know the majority of you in this room, but is there anything else that I've left out that you're wondering or that you want to know about me?
You did a great job.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Commissioner Jordan.
No,
Okay, guys.
thank you for coming and being here and putting your name in. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
So yeah, and like I said, hopefully tomorrow or the following Tuesday.
Okay.
If people would just.
Well, I'm sure we made it hard on you guys because again, you got great people
Yes.
to consider. So thank you guys.
It is going to be a hard
Thank
decision.
you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys.
Okay, you too.
Okay, bye guys. Thank you.
Thank you. So Chris, I shared with the other members, but maybe you weren't online when I mentioned it. Last year, when Larry Crowder was president of AAAE, he led a national effort with regard to developing a platform around DEI and created a platform for airports across the nation to structure that. And he, every year, we are required by FAA standards to provide a report to FAA on our efforts with regard to DEI and stuff. So I just wanted to share with you that platform and format does exist already at SIA.
Yeah, I was encouraged to hear that come out in some answers too. So it sounds like there's some good work being done.
Yep.
Sir agrees.
You couldn't have timed that better, could you?
You're a sixth member of the board? Is that what?
Exactly.
And you thought that second voice was just in my head? No.
So, okay, so we've gone through the interviews. We can do a by leave tomorrow to appoint somebody, or if we need more time, we can, push it to the following week. Do you want to have a discussion? Do you just want to put the sheet out to say who you think your top, person is at this point in time? This always
it's always interesting with having interviews and stuff. Normally with employees, you can go into executive session. We can't go into executive session with volunteer appointments. So, so I don't know how much people want to discuss or just put their thoughts down on paper and see if we're come to a majority.
So we throw out top 1, top 2, top 3.
Choices, whatever we want to make it.
Top 2 might be good, because then,
Okay. I'll throw mine out. My top 2 are Brooke and Tom, the final 2 we interviewed.
I'm not sure that I'm ready for my top 2 quite yet. I want to think through some of my thoughts, but that's why I was like, do we want to? So you just want to throw them out now?
oh,
and-
I thought you meant like on a
On
checklist.
I thought you were asking, so
That we-
thought you were asking me to. So
Could I ask a question though
What about?
about,
I'm asking procedurally right now. what I wanna do.
that I just wanted to say that I respect what Commissioner French has to say about like certain skill sets that would be, you know, Brooke's question was about like, what are the skill sets that might be needed on the board? And you talked about economic development, business development, real estate or things around the business side, maybe construction. Does Brooke and her experience, I was just gonna ask, I know you talked about Max's business is in construction, but it's different types of construction.
Different types of
Do you,
construction.
do you see those as being like kind of compatible to have different types of building construction as well as more infrastructure construction, like as in, you know, paving and bridges and roads and?
Yeah, no, I see them as two different.
Different types,
Two
right?
different types. I mean,
Okay.
you know, building a runway and doing all of that kind of stuff is a specific skill set, and Max is obviously an expert at that. Having him on the board has helped Larry and staff negotiate through, quite frankly, when he got on the board, we had some very challenging situations for SIA. He helped navigate through that. And so, so there's clearly a role in that, and expanding the parking lot, all those kind of things are all in Max's wheelhouse. But when you're getting above the ground and actually building, getting into building construction, that's a whole nother area. And that's why, you know, somebody with Brooke's experience and structures, I think could be a helpful resource. You know, the Trex project and economic development and customer service, all of those are part of our strategic plan for the airport. And so all of them fit into where do we want to grow as an airport. But Larry has done an excellent job with regard to economic development, because he views, and the board does, our role is to create more jobs. And for decades, the airport sat as an underutilized asset. Nothing happened out there except for, you know, tumbleweeds and scarecrows. And so created around the airport, what's that?
No,
A
it's,
simpler time.
A simpler time. But, you know, between, I mean, you know,
Yes.
Larry was on the front line of recruiting.
Just a lot of underutilized
Aeroflight.
land.
And,
Yeah.
well, and so let me, so the reason it has so much land is because when the airport started the effort to prepare for a second parallel runway, some of those lands that we had to acquire were only available in 100 and 200 acre lots. And so you ended up having to overbuy, and every time we buy, we've got to go through FAA. FAA said, yes, if you're planning for the future, this is part of your master plan, so yes, you're going to be able to spend dollars on that. And a lot of those dollars were dollars we received as grants from FAA. So all of that's been through that process. Now, as we develop that second parallel runway, we have a master site plan that shows where that's going to be and what the flight patterns are around it and all of that. Now we can surplus all of that other land. And so that's what he's been doing, is surplusing that land to other users, so that we can, you know, turn it from tumbleweeds into businesses. And so that's part of that role.
it's the Amazon land, that was surplus. Or was
No,
that?
the
that wasn't?
Amazon land was owned by a private landowner.
Okay,
And that whole strip
Right,
And-
along, when you come
so-
off the,
Yeah, so the strip between the airport and I-90, all of that predominantly was owned by maybe a handful of property owners. And the Amazon site specifically was owned by Tom Tilford, both the fulfillment center and the distribution facility was right under construction next door to it. Then he sold the property to the east to Harlan Douglas, and Harlan Douglas is doing his big industrial park. And then to the east of that is Dick Edwards and Tim Welsh and all of those as property owners that are developing that property.
thanks.
Yeah, and I would say on the construction side, I mean, Max has been, very beneficial on the engineering committee of looking at, as they've interviewed engineers and done the CCG, for the construction, just his contracting knowledge has been really helpful to ensure that you've got the right language in the contracts and all of that too, just as a second set of eyes. So,
Yeah, it's a team sport. Well, with the Trex project, this is the first building project we've had probably 2, maybe 3 decades. So, this is a whole new world for the airport.
so process, how do we want to? Chris, thoughts on what you want to see for process to make the decision?
I kind of like the idea of the sheet with the top 2, if that's possible, that we each mark our top 2 candidates and then see where we're at with what the totals are. Does that make sense to people?
It would save time than if,
Well, I think,
coming back around later.
I don't know if it does save time. I mean,
Does it not?
a sheet, I think certainly kicks us into next week. I mean, if we want to get this done by tomorrow, let's just have a discussion. I mean, talk it through. I mean, I think we can do that. I hope we can do that. I mean, I threw out my top 2s. Anybody have 2 that they think stood out? Anybody else?
I have I have 3 that I'm trying to think through, so. That's kind of where.
Throw
where
3
I'm at.
out then. Let's hear
No,
it.
so I think I really like Kelly. Patty Shea, I thought she did a really great job. She actually understands economic development from a different perspective than Tom. Two things that definitely need to be looked at and Tom. So those would be my 3. I certainly appreciate the passion and knowledge of Clyde and Brooke. Like everyone said, it's going to be a tough decision. Any one of them would be good.
Yeah, I just was gonna say, I really liked Patty's, I like that she has a lot of, experience working with different groups of people. I don't know, again, I guess it's whether we're looking for specific, skill sets. She's got a lot of skill sets. That would be amazing. I don't know if she has all of the business development, economic development. She has, a lot of that, construction. So I don't know. It's gonna be tough because I really liked her approach to working with others. And she seems like she has strong, checking the egos at the door and really trying to make sure there's over communication. That's always a good thing. So anyway, I need to think about it a little bit more because I'm not sure if she has all the skill sets that we need right now on the board. So if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I would say, you know, one of my, with Tom, just concerns is, you know, and Kelly a little bit too, it just, Larry's the one doing the economic development, it's not the board. The board is governance, strategy, you know, but they're not actually doing that contact, or in my mind, aren't supposed to be the ones doing the contact with businesses and all of that. That's Larry and Todd's role. So I mean, so I guess I just want to make sure that the board is, my understanding is governance board, and Larry is the one really doing the work.
Yeah, I would disagree with you on that. I mean, the effort with regard to economic development is a board activity and stuff. And while Larry deals with the property underneath SIA's control, there's a lot of vacant property around SIA's property that is also part of that equation and stuff. And so, you know, I use the Amazon project as a great example. I did everything outside the gate, he did everything inside the gate, but it was working in concert together that made that deal happen.
But kind of you as commissioner, though, was really working.
Well, I mean, the line is gray between me as a commissioner and me as an airport board member. I mean, I don't know where one drops, where one stops, and where the other one begins. But, you know, so, you know, let's see, another, you know, the
But we also
business
have-
park is another example of
But we also
that.
have the West Plains PD, you know, S3R3 that's doing that too. That's where I'm just kind of, there's a lot going on, and I just concerned on having an individual who thinks that that's the role when the role is governance.
Yeah, I guess it's the difference between an active and inactive board member. This board, SIA board, is clearly an active board. The board members are actively engaged in a number of different ideas. And I'll give you a great example, Ezra Eckhart, when we were looking at trying to structure you know, the financing package for the airport. He was an active participant in that conversation because of his financing background. And so, and that's the kind of resource, you know, that Larry is always willing to look outside of his realm and say, you know, hey, I don't have the expertise in this area. Can you help me? Same thing with Jennifer West in marketing. Same thing with, well, Max Cooney, and quite frankly, with construction. So it is a very active board that works in concert with Larry and stuff. So it's not just a governance board, it's an active board. We don't just show up once a month and vote and walk away. We're actively working with him to try and promote the airport. So it is a different kind of structure. Unlike the health board, for instance, which is a policy board, I guess is a good example.
So I guess I didn't realize there's RCWs that dictate. So I mean, that's part of what I do want to take a look at, that RCW, to see what, and do we know the RCW number?
Well, it's in the interlocal agreement, and it's also in the operating agreement, the RCWs and stuff. And that's all captured in our operating agreement, which we already signed, and party to, as well as the ILA. So all of those aspects are already covered.
Yeah, no, just two of them referenced the statute on airport boards, so I was just gonna make sure I take a look at that. Right.
So you said you were interested in Shay. Who's the other one?
It's probably three, you know, Tom and Brooke. So I'm just reviewing my notes, and I think reviewing the duties and kind of looking at some of how they approach the work would be good. I mean, we have just some great people here that
No, I think
have been
any of them
serving
would be great.
on a lot of different community boards. They understand the role of a board member. I thought that a lot of their answers are very good on, it's to support the CEO, it's to, you know, fiduciary strategy, long-term strategic planning. So the other thing is, you know, time commitment too, and the ability to give the time to the work, because they all are on a lot of boards and other things too. So what would you say is the time for, amount of time do you think that an airport board member would put in? Not you, but other airport, board members. Because I know as a county commissioner, you're also, we're also co-owner, so there's more responsibility.
So I would say that it's not a flat line. I'd say that it was event specific. So if the airport was engaged in a marketing activity, Jennifer West's time would be exponential to all the rest of us because it's about marketing. If it's about financing, Ezra is going to be exponential to the rest of us.
Upcoming contracts.
Construction is going to be,
contracts, yeah.
so it's not a flat line. It's based upon what is the activity that the airport is invested into. So
I'm not sure I understand.
oh, don't turn that off. Jeez,
Go
that-
home, Siri, you're drunk.
No. So that's how my ex-wife sounds. No, I'm just kidding. So I don't know that I don't know how to answer that, because at any point in time, somebody could be investing 20, 30 hours a week. And the rest of the time they could be investing, a couple hours a week,
Right.
kind of a deal. So it's really based upon what the demand is and being available to respond to the demand.
But you have a board meeting every month,
Yeah,
and
so-
you've got a committee meeting
Yeah,
as
so
well.
we got a board meeting, committee meeting. So committee meetings last an hour to hour and a half. Board meeting lasts about an hour, hour and a half. So there's 3 hours there, probably about an hour's prep for both of those. So 4 hours maybe. If you're just coasting, you can get away with about 4 hours worth of work. If you're involved in a project going on, like I said, you could be spending 20 or 30 hours a week. So it's very
But the
project
minimum
specific.
is-
Yeah, but a
It's-
minimum, you've got 4 to 5 hours a week, a
Okay.
month
Got it.
as a minimum.
So it's 2 meetings, since it's the committee meeting, 'cause
Yeah.
you're either on finance or engineering.
Right.
And then on the board as well, so.
And then, and then there is the opportunity for travel. Because, and Kelly spoke to this, is that all the board members are actively involved in advocating for the airport.
Right.
And so when Larry goes to DC or Seattle or wherever he's going to recruit airlines or anything like that, a lot of times he'll make those opportunities available to board members, because especially in DC, if you're going to an elected official and you've got another elected official in the group, that's one of the reasons why I go with him a lot, is you'll get a meeting with the elected official. If you're just going as staff, you'll get a meeting with staff. And so it depends upon the issue as to whether I go with him or not, because, for instance, if he needed a meeting with Senator Cantwell, he will always take me, because I got a great relationship with Senator Cantwell, and we can get in and talk about issues. If he's just going to meet with FAA, there's no reason for a board member to go, because that's staff and staff. And Max has gone on some of those trips, and I have, and other board members have.
And Max will, advocate on, when he is advocating for other purposes for his position, he'll
yeah.
also advocate on behalf of the airport, to bring up issues, because the elected officials know he's on the board, so they'll ask him questions as well when he's back there, so that happens a lot.
So, Chris, who are you leaning toward?
Can I ask Commissioner Kearns, you were pretty quick to identify your top two. Can you tell us kind of where you're coming from with those?
In my opinion, it was the economic development and construction backgrounds. I put them in order of preference. I think because Trex being the next major thing happening out there, that's why I'd put Brooke first. But Tom had a very, very impressive background when it came to economic development, so I'd put him at a close second.
I'm I'm thinking it through. My thought is, as Amber said, we've got really great people that applied. I think their passion came through. I'm having a hard time narrowing down in my mind here right this very second, but I liked Brooke, liked her involvement in the community with GSI, coming on board with the Valley Chamber, liked the construction background. I liked Tom as well, lots of board experience, lots of, he seemed to have a pretty good framework for approaching service on a board. I liked Patty. I think I liked how she was talking about the whole region being a part of benefiting from the airport. Just had a really great positive attitude, and I think lots of insight into humility and working relationships with people. And I liked Kelly as well. I thought she brings a kind of good big picture view in terms of the connectivity of the region and different forms of transportation. And I liked her statement, which I'm sure others have made, about the airport being the front door of the community. So I liked 4. I really enjoyed Clyde as well and his commitment, but I think the other folks' experience jumped out to me. I'm just struggling to narrow it down in my mind. So sorry to be so vague, but those are general thoughts.
So out of that, you only eliminated 1.
So far. So far, but I haven't heard from Commissioner French.
What, my watch has gone off twice. Well, for me, my number 1 choice was Tom. With not only with regard to economic development, but the thing that I really liked about him was about his ability to incubate local businesses. We are doing a really good job of recruiting businesses to the area, but I think one of the areas that we need more attention at is how do we incubate and grow local business? And he clearly has got a track record of being able to do that. So that's why I liked Tom over Brooke. But Brooke is outstanding. I mean, if we ended up with Brooke, I would not be disappointed. She's got some excellent skills. I think she said it best when she said, "I'm the leadership of the future." I think she's dead on there. She's sharp, she's intelligent, she's aggressive. The $102 million in 1 year of construction, that's not an easy task, and to be on the front side of that is saying a lot. So I had Tom as my number 1, and probably with half a point difference behind him, Brooke as number 2. But the reason for the difference is incubation, quite frankly.
So Commissioner French, have there been concerns about businesses that have leased land from the airport not being able to grow? Is that why you're concerned about incubation of business being so important? I mean, I totally agree that Tom has an amazing background in that, but how do you see that connecting with like the airport expansion and the use of the leasing and potential sale of lands around the airport to other businesses?
So as the airport sells that surplus land to developers, those developers are going to look for tenants. And those tenants can either be national or statewide region Northwest, or they can be locally incubated. And the role that I see Tom at is being able to fill some of those warehouses with local businesses, local incubation business. That's where, Selkirk Pharmacy is a good example. A local business You know, and quite frankly, they could have been in construction a lot sooner had they had access to equity capital to be able to build their facilities and stuff. But a local business incubated, growing out at the airport, going to create something like 350 jobs, average salary of 85,000. That's the kind of jobs and economic development that I'd like to be able to see more of around the airport. Aeroflight is another example of you know, a company that Larry recruited to the airport out of Arizona, Flagstaff, Arizona, and now they're in a critical stage of being able to expand their operation. Well, they're looking at financing, and so there's Ezra. They're looking at building a new hangar. There's Brooke, but also, you know, Tom could play a role in trying to find the financing for that. So there are multiple opportunities for that to support the airport, and of course, the more land that we can sell and get it off the balance sheet for the airport, the more land that goes on in tax rolls, but more importantly, more construction and more jobs. Without that business incentive, bare land is just going to be bare land forever.
Well, I was just going to say to you, thanks, Commissioner Jordan, for, I think I have a lot of respect for Kelly Fukai. I serve with her on the Spokane, WSU Spokane Advisory Board. She's really sharp. I just don't know if, you know, she's doing some great work with the Transportation Commission. She's doing some great work around, you know, the technology sector. I don't know if those are like the skill sets that we're needing right now on the board, but I sure hope she'll continue to stay involved in the work, because we need great people like that in Spokane on all fronts. So, but thank you, Commissioner French, for that background. That's helpful. And of course, working with the West Plains PDA, sorry, what's the new name again?
S3R3.
S3R3, I got used to that. But I mean, obviously there's a strong connection with working with that group
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
the airport and the development of those lands.
Right.
Okay.
And so we are.
They're searching for a director right now, correct?
Yeah, in fact, we will select a national headhunter next week and go out for somebody. Todd Coleman was an engineer, Port District administrator from Clark County, and he did a really good job of getting us a base. But now we need somebody that's much more external and marketing to bring new businesses to the area. And so that's what we're looking for now as a CTO, is that kind of external marketing individual that can bring businesses to the area. But to get back to your issue with regard to, because we're going to hire somebody to do that, I don't need another person to do that. And that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons why I kind of tipped Tom a little bit, is because if he's doing the local stuff and we got somebody else that's going to be doing the external stuff, then we got a package of two people that are working both sides of the aisle to bring new businesses to the area. But just looking at the numbers, it looks like we've got two people that are on 4 of our list.
Was that Brooke and Tom?
Brooke and Tom are the two. Tom is on 5 and Brooke is on 4.
Did you give us your list?
Well, yeah, I said Patty, Tom, and Brooke. But yeah, I guess I'm just wondering if the work that you're talking about of like helping businesses grow, finance, get financing, do you see that as more as the S3R3 role or the airport role? Because it seems like that's more why we established the airport, you know, PDA.
So
Right, not airport, sorry, West Plains.
yeah, the West Plains PDA, the difference between the two, and this is something that we struggled with early on in the creation of the new entity, is that S3R3 doesn't have the legal authority or knowledge to be able to operate on airport property. When we sell property, there's a whole FAA process we've got to go through to get permission to sell it. There's a whole process you've got to go through to make sure that there's no conflicts with the master site plan and a whole lot of other things that, you know, if somebody really wants to be on the airport property, they're willing to put up with that. But the people that S3R3 is dealing with are not. And so, and I'll give you a great example of that was our recent recruitment of Louisiana Pacific. You know, originally they wanted to be on airport property, but because they were going to have a 60-foot tall smokestack and they couldn't identify what was coming out of it, we had to eliminate the airport property, and that's why we put them down by Highline Grain. Well, it's knowing that is critical, being able to make sure you get the right businesses that can go through that process with FAA and be able to locate on that property. And again, the more property we sell, the cheaper it is to the airport, because all the revenue we make from selling that land goes into the construction of TREX and reduces the overall bonding and financing for TREX. So that's one of the reasons why it's so important to try and get more and more of that land out of the hands of the airport and into the hands of the private sector, so that we grow jobs, and two, we get the money necessary to pay for the expansion.
And I guess it's ensuring too with Tom, if there's some of this stuff is happening, he would have to, I mean, for conflict of interest purposes, can't be involved financially or any of that.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, which I know on the construction side has been good for Max, because he doesn't do that kind of construction, that he can be, have no conflicts there, versus potentially other contractors would have that potential conflict. So he's not going to go after any airport job.
Well, and that's the same situation for Hossie, because his son owns Hossie Landscape, which does do a lot of work for the airport, and they won't be able to bid on that work anymore if Hossie's on the board. That's one of the challenges that I have with putting him on the board. But, you know, with Brooke, I mean, Baker Construction is not going to be able to do any work on the airport either. Well, that's not their forte, so it's not going to be a big deal. But if
they could do hangars out at Phelps Field.
Could.
Right.
You know, I
No.
mean,
I could.
So those would be the potential conflict.
Yeah, that would be a conflict, and they obviously couldn't do that. Yeah.
So they just wouldn't be able to bid on any
Yeah.
Right.
work,
Yeah.
or she'd have to remove herself from the airport. But I mean, that's where I just want to, you know, with Tom, if, you know, is his angel investing and all of that, wouldn't be able to
Absolutely.
have anything to do with any of the businesses or jobs.
He was
that-
working to help a
Yes.
business that was involved in some sort of airport deal, yeah.
But if somebody like, let's say, just throw out names, Alvin Wolf was to build a hangar out there, or for that matter, you know, Harlan Douglas has got his project out there and is building warehouse space. You know, somebody like Tom could help incubate a business inside that project and get more jobs out in the West Plains. That wouldn't be a conflict.
Correct.
Because it's not airport property.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But you're exactly right. He couldn't do anything on airport property because of conflict.
I mean, just things, you know, out there thinking.
We're a small town. 550,000.
Yes. So Max was on the airport board before I was commissioner, so not me.
But Max does a good job of making sure that, you know, there are no conflicts and stuff. So I mean, you know, that's to Max's credit to be able to align and still be a resource for Crowder.
Yeah.
So that's why I know it can happen. So do we want to advance Tom and Brooke, and then between tonight and tomorrow, figure out which one we want to do, or?
Looking at Commissioner Jordan, I'm seeing, was that a head nod or are you falling asleep?
Well, you picked up on subtle cues. That was, I think, it sounds like those are the two leading options from the conversation. I'd like a little time to stew it over. But I think it makes sense to put those two forward and then to decide how we decide between those two.
Well, and the nice position is that either one of them is going to be a good choice. Both of them bring some very targeted, specific skill sets to the airport that I think will be an enhancement. So I don't know that there'll be a bad decision, regardless of which way we go.
And like I said before, I think Patty is awesome, and there might be another board or something coming up. She'd be an amazing board member on any board that touches development, construction, utilities. I mean, she's just got such a wonderful, I think one of the things that she brings is like fixing when there are challenges, and I don't hear that there are currently challenges between the current board members that are on the airport board. You know what I mean? If there was like maybe some interpersonal things, and she could come in and be somebody that was a good listener and bringing people back together, she'd be that type of person. So anyway. But yes, I'm fine with moving those two forward.
Yeah, and then I think we can talk about it tomorrow under miscellaneous to continue. I don't know.
Tomorrow morning?
I can open it up on my computer.
We've got, I think there shouldn't be an issue to bring it back up under miscellaneous and give everybody a chance to think about it. So it'd be, after our morning meeting. I think we're gonna go till about 10:45 is what we've got planned. But then if there's any other executive sessions or miscellaneous items. So. Okay, then we will adjourn this meeting because we will open the next one today at 2 o'clock will be our working session. So thank you all very much for being here, and really appreciate all the interviews for the candidates and putting their names forwards and knowing that this has been more of a public process than we've had before. So appreciate everybody willing to, as volunteers, put their names forward and be here. So thank you, and we will see everyone at 2 o'clock.